But this film does certainly have a problem with making sure we know which legion is present at any given time, because they just keep referring to them as legions, which is actually why ancient Greece eventually fell. They spent so much time arguing over which legion was which that they never actually got to fight any battles, and so they lost.
I said it before and I'll say it again. Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Never fear change. Life is too short for fear. Chase what is desired.
I can do this all day.
Would you mind identifying what you are?
We're the best friends squad.
That's what we call ourselves. Sort of like a team.
Welcome to the rodeo. Ladies and gentlemen, please sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride.
This is the way.
I have spoken.
Welcome to the Skiffy and Fantasy Show Torture Cinema.
The cycling was less painful than the movie.
That's true.
So true.
Also, apparently, according to Jen, Sinbad the comedian did it better.
I mean, Sinbad the comedian is amazing, but I was actually talking about Sinbad Legend of the Seven Seas, starring Michelle Pfeiffer and Brad Pitt.
I think you mean starring Sinbad in all of the roles.
No, that would have been amazing, but no, Michelle Pfeiffer as Eris is one of the sexiest cartoon characters in the history of cartoon characters, so no.
Okay. Well, on a fun note, you know Sinbad does a podcast with his son Royce called Blurred Empire.
I did not know that, and that's super exciting because I love Sinbad.
It's a pretty fun podcast. They interview some cool folks, so I definitely recommend folks check it out. This is not at all an advertisement. It just was relevant because Jen mentioned Sinbad.
Yeah, but I'm definitely talking about the Brad Pitt Sinbad, so...
Brad Pitt was in Sinbad?
Not the TV show, the animated film.
Okay.
Have you not seen Sinbad Legend of the Seven Seas?
Jen, there are many things I have not seen, and if I listed them for you, you would be disappointed, and I still wouldn't care.
No! I am serious. Have you not seen Sinbad
No!
Legend of the Seven Seas?
Why would I have seen that?
It's one of the best, most ridiculous cartoons ever.
No, Jen. If we're going for best cartoons ever, clearly the best cartoon is Bugs Bunny.
Oh my god. I cannot believe you have not seen Sinbad.
Oh my god. Can we do this podcast?
Yes,
Good
I
God.
suppose so, but I'm just saying, everybody, that if you have not seen Sinbad, The Legend of the Seven Seas, it literally turned my child bisexual. So, watch it.
What the?
Eris was her first crush.
That should be on the DVDs from now on. It turned my child bisexual.
Eris is an amazing character, voiced by Michelle Pfeiffer. She's truly, she's evil and, sinfully wicked and sexy, and
turns your child bisexual.
Well, I mean, it's only fair. Brad Pitt's also awesome. It's a fun movie, and then it's Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Do they also turn people's kids other sexualities?
Probably. It's a super sexy animated movie.
So really what you're saying, Jen, is that if someone is looking to have a sexual awakening, they should watch Sinbad.
The Legend of the Seven Seas? Yes, absolutely.
Okay, got it. Perfect. So if that's what you're looking for, definitely watch that movie. If you're not interested in a sexual awakening, maybe skip it.
Or just, maybe everybody should have a sexual awakening?
You know what? Some people don't really want one, Jen.
Yeah. For instance, Perseus.
Or Perseus, depending on who you ask in this movie. Because they don't consistently pronounce his name. Zeus names it Perseus, but apparently Hades is like Perseus.
Perseus. So, that's because it's Ralph Fiennes. And
I know, he has to be weird.
He does. It's in his contract.
Right, it's like Clause 8. Must be weird in all productions.
I'm pretty sure, I don't know the timeline of Harry Potter and him as Voldemort versus this movie, but, clearly someone saw one or the other and was like, I've got the role for you.
Well, Jen.
Oh, now you have to look it up, of course.
I am looking it up for us because, of course, one must know, at what point did he start playing Voldemort? And I will tell you, Jen, he had started playing Voldemort in 2007. So 3 years prior to this, he had his first role. He started in 2005 because that was the Goblet of Fire. So actually, 5 years prior to this film releasing, he was already playing Voldemort.
Okay, and then the director of Clash of the Titans. Because, oh, by the way, we're talking about Clash of the Titans, everybody. Did we mention that?
Yeah, we're not even there yet, Jen. We'll get there. Look, let's just say he was Voldemort in 4 films for Harry Potter.
Before this one.
For this one. He was in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 the same year Clash of the Titans.
Okay. And then Louis Leterrier was like 12 or something when the first one came out, and he was like, oh my god, Voldemort is the greatest thing ever. And then he grew up a little bit bigger, and he was like, I get to make a movie, and I want it to be Voldemort. But he was only like 16 at that point, and that's why this movie is bad.
Sure, it went exactly that direction. I will just note that this film has some very interesting connections, because not only was Ralph Fiennes in 3 films that have direct connections to one another, 2 of them because of him, because he happened to play Lord Voldemort in 2 of them, Clash of the Titans and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. He was with Voldemort. Also, Emma Thompson, who is apparently friends with Liam Neeson, is in Nanny McPhee and The Big Bang, which came out the same year, and apparently while she was filming Nanny McPhee, she went to go visit Liam Neeson on set of Clash of the Titans on one of his breaks, and couldn't get off set quick enough and realized she was about to be in the film, so she had to hide behind the king's throne in one of the scenes so that she wouldn't end up on camera because she can't actually be in the film. She hasn't been hired to be on film. So technically, some of the scenes we might have seen may have had a hidden Emma Thompson. And that is the new game I want everyone to play. Screw Where's Waldo. It's Where's Emma Thompson.
Where's Emma Thompson? That sounds like an amazing game. And also an amazing drinking game, and I'm here for this.
Well, if we're playing that game, Jen, we both have to drink, because guess what? Emma Thompson was in the movie we just watched.
That's really, really disturbing.
So, Clash of the Titans is the film selected by our lovely patrons. Thank you so much for picking this film. Just
we
a
hate
note,
you.
I will be torturing Jen, especially for next month, because next month's Torture Cinema poll is going to be sequels. And this film happens to have a sequel, so it will be on the list. You're welcome.
Yeah, so basically this is just Sean begging you all to pick Wrath of the Titans.
Well, you can pick any of the sequels, because there may also be a Transformers sequel on there. There will be many sequels.
So just FYI, though, Wrath of the Titans has a really amazing tagline. Do you want to know what it is? It's very clever.
Is it Unreleased the Kraken?
No, it's Feel the Wrath. Get it?
Oh, so clever. Oh, I am dripping with the clever. Oh my gosh.
Yes, it just clevered all over me.
Fun fact, Release the Kraken, not the original line from this movie. Came from the 1981 Clash of the Titans. They kept it on purpose.
Well, because it's the only line you can say.
Release the Kraken. Just also a fun fact, Kraken's not ancient Greek.
Oh?
Nope.
That's...
Nope, it's Norse.
Krakens are Norse?
Yep.
What?
So this film has a number of very interesting things. So the word Kraken for sea monster is Norwegian and Swedish. It's not Greek. Early scripts apparently wanted to name it after the biblical Leviathan, but they changed it back to Kraken, mostly as tribute to the Clash of the Titans. And there are some other differences. So this film merges a bunch of different cultures. So the language that the jinns actually speak in this is in fact Arabic. It's pretty hard to hear because they like
mangle it.
They mangle it pretty hard. I don't think it's the actors mangling. I think it's the processing of the audio. So it's hard to see it or hear it as real language. But like, there's a bunch of different stuff. So there's the Kraken, which is from Norse mythology. There's the Jinn, which is from Arabian regions. Then there's a bit in the movie about Cepheus apparently making a joke at Andromeda about her being a missionary, which would be a Christian thing that we would
How did I
associate today.
miss that?
Well, it's because, Jen, some of us like to read the IMDb trivia.
Yeah, and others of us do not like to actually watch the movie.
Well, to be fair, like some of this I knew. Like, I knew the Jinn were not originally ancient Greek, but I didn't remember the Andromeda line. I just thought that was an interesting factoid that was found out. But there's just a lot of, like, little interesting bits in here. Like, apparently they wanted to go with the original name of the creature, which is, I can't remember what it is. It's like Cetius or Circe or something with a C, I think, which is the ancient Greek name. But then they decided, just stay with Kraken. Kraken sounds really cool. And also Liam Neeson gets to say Kraken. And then we can make puns for the rest of our lives, like having a Kraken good time. Like,
Okay.
I'm just trying to help you out with information. Calm down.
Thank you. Are you done spilling information all over me?
Look, a second ago you were really into it. Cetus is the name, by the way.
Cetus! Thank you!
The monster originally, yeah.
Okay, yes. Now that you have said Cetus, that is 100% the name used in Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas. Okay. She's got a couple of creatures, and they're all better than the creatures in this. I'm just going to be comparing it.
But anyway, so make sure that you take your Cetus, because we're going to get started with this podcast proper now. Y'all taking your Cetuses? It's really important that you do. You okay?
I was mid-gulp, Sean! I literally almost spit that all over my keyboard! Oh! Whew, that took effort. That was...
I didn't think that was the pun that was gonna get you.
It took me a second. And I think that's what it was, is because I didn't completely hear what you said, and then it, processed, and I just was like, oh god, no, I'm gonna spit. Well done.
Anyway, so on the subject of drinks, Jen, what are you drinking for this delightful podcast?
I am drinking another one of my famous Everclear cocktails. This one is a lime spritzer version.
Nice.
I mean, it's a bit heavy on the Everclear.
And not at all themed for this film.
No, I did not have any ouzo, so...
Oh really, Jen?
Oh, is that what you're drinking?
So, I decided that it's been a while since I have gone themed for this show, and so I went to the liquor store with my brother, who is now here in Minnesota with me, and decided, I want to try to find something Greek. And so I Googled and was like, what did the Greeks drink? And they were like, wine. And I was like, great, I could get any wine, but I want to get a Greek wine. And then I looked and was like, well, you can't get any Greek wine here. So I went, what's the next best thing? And I was like, hey, liquor person, help me. What do you got here that's from Greece? And they went, well, we got ouzo. And I went, great, I want that. So I am having an ouzo cocktail.
Opa!
I'm having an ouzo cocktail that is 1 part ouzo, 1 part peach schnapps, 1 part vodka with lime juice and mint over ice.
I'm impressed.
So this is basically it's a Greek cocktail.
That's pretty awesome.
I'm themed. What can I tell you? Also, I just wanted you to know that this ouzo is 40 proof. The vodka I have is 45 proof. And then you have also the schnapps, which is 8 proof, which isn't much. But when you have 2 full martinis worth,
it stacks up.
It's a lot. I'm just going to say I have only drank maybe a fifth of it so far, and I definitely feel it. But I am drinking it out of the adorable frog band mug that I got from my grandma after her passing.
Aww.
And so, even though I don't know if she would approve of me drinking this much alcohol...
Definitely not of watching this movie, just because it's bad.
Well, she would have probably preferred the original, so...
I mean, everybody should prefer the original.
But the good news is, I get to look down at this mug every time I want to take a drink, and there's a frog playing a giant tuba.
I mean, that's important.
It's pretty cute.
All right.
Are
we ready for synopsis of this movie?
Yeah, so what is this movie about, Jen?
This movie is about the son of Zeus, who is cast to his death as a baby when his father, decides that it's his wife's fault that she's pretty and tosses her into the sea in a coffin. The baby survives.
Whoa, wait. No. Okay, that's kind of a messed up version.
That's literally what happens!
No. Zeus tricks her. He morphs himself into her husband, so she thinks she's getting it on with her husband.
Yeah!
And then the husband throws her out because Zeus has made babies with his wife.
Oh, I'm sorry. What part of my version of the story was wrong?
He throws her out because she's too pretty.
I said because somehow it's her fault that she's too pretty and Zeus decided to rape her. That's what I'm referring to. I was being sarcastic.
Oh, sorry, Jen. I was trying very much to defend this poor woman who's just got fucked over, and I just misunderstood. I'm sorry.
Yeah, God. So her dick of a husband literally tosses her into the ocean after getting, struck by lightning because Zeus is angry that he's tossing out his rape victim into the ocean. But a lovely fisherman, played by Pete Postlethwaite, discovers this coffin, and because everybody knows that opening coffins that you find in the middle of the ocean, it's just a great plan, he opens it up and discovers the deceased body of the rape victim and Perseus.
Well, he doesn't know she's a rape victim at that point. He just knows she's a woman.
Yes, and she had a baby, and it's a precious little baby, and so he decides to raise it as his own. And in the beginning, he's all, the gods are great, and you have a fate. I know that because they brought you to me. And then the fishing dries up, and at that point, he's like, the gods suck, those bastards. And so is everybody, because, nature is, kind of mercurial, so it's the Greeks blame the gods. Well, I should specify, the people of Argos blame the gods for these circumstances and decide that they are going to mock them to their faces. At which point Zeus gets a little bit mad because we all know that Zeus is kind of an asshole. And so he sends his brother Hades, who is also kind of an asshole, down to destroy everybody.
No, hold on. No. That's not exactly what he did.
Well, whatever.
Hades went to just do lots of destruction. He sent Hades to seek a sacrifice or destroy Argos.
Would you please stop talking so I can finish my
get
synopsis?
It right, damn it.
Okay, so technically, you're right. Argos mocks the gods by, destroying the statue of Zeus, and then Hades is like, oh, those bastards, they hurt my brother's feelings, because we all know that Hades is a completely selfless god. Just FYI. So he swoops down and he kills Perseus's father and mother and young sister, because he's just a nice guy like that. And also a bunch of soldiers who have just, toppled the statue of Zeus. Oh, and by the way, while they were toppling the statue of Zeus, they almost killed Perseus's family in the first place. So really, who's at fault here? That's the question. Anyway, so Perseus is the only one to survive the Hades attack, and so he's brought before the king, and blah, 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 whose wife, by the way, is continuing to mock the gods, and then is murdered by Hades again. At which point, though, Hades discovers, ooh, Perseus might be a demigod. How interesting. And of course, the gods at this point decide that they are going to, threaten the people of Argos with the Kraken, the release of the Kraken, because that's what you do. However, if they choose to sacrifice the daughter of Argos, and by daughter of Argos, I mean the princess of the city, Andromeda, then everything will be fine. We're good. Just so long as you love us again. Because that's really all the gods want. They just want to be loved, man. Push comes to shove. Perseus is again, he's discovered to be a demigod. Everybody knows it. So they're like, you're going to help us, even though you don't want to. And so they go on adventures with the cast and crew of Game of Thrones. Plus Mads Mikkelsen. And Nicholas Holt, because, witness me or something like that. And oh my god, he is such a baby in this. Such a tiny little baby, except he's 10 feet tall because it's Nicholas Holt. Anyway,
True.
Adventures ensue. They meet some djinn. They go with some hunters. They fight with some giant scorpions. They talk to some witches with an ugly eye. And then everybody dies. They finally get the head of Medusa. Perseus, meanwhile, falls in love with his great-great-great-grandmother Io, who was once a cow, and so on and so forth, until the final battle when the Kraken is indeed released, and Perseus kills it with the head of Medusa. But meanwhile, like, there's some other stuff with, like, Hades was actually trying to kill his brother because he's super mad that he got stuck in the underworld or something like that. So he's, like, feeding on the fear of the people, which, frankly, I thought was the whole God game in the first place. So I'm not sure what that was about. But there, that is the movie. And in the end, Perseus gets to go back to being a fisherman with his lovely girlfriend grandmother.
Yeah. His great-great-great-great-great-great-great grandmother.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't even know, like,
It's 7.
how great.
It's
but...
7 greats.
Oh, did you check the family tree?
Yeah, I checked. It's 7 greats. She's sufficiently removed that it's only creepy to modern times, but, like, there aren't potential genetic consequences.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, considering that the Greek gods, like, and royalty regularly, like, married their sisters, I'm not actually that concerned about it.
Also had sex with animals or as animals. Yeah.
Right. It's just an interesting note that Io is indeed the ancestor of Perseus and a whole bunch of other people, but, you know.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's the movie.
But, you know, at least he can always wear as his badge of honor that he will have made family within family.
I was going to make some mafia family joke, but I have had too much alcohol. So
it's all in the family, Jen.
All in the family! Because we all know that show was about incest.
Oh, we're going to hell. Oh, boy.
That's probably better than this movie. So,
well,
that's just saying.
That's true.
They might play this movie there.
No, I think that some of the other films we've watched definitely have been played.
That's true. But this really is not the worst film by a long
No.
stretch. So, just very not good.
Yeah, it's like competently made.
Yeah, yeah. It just has Sam Worthington in it. And as we all know, Sam Worthington...
He's the unsalted saltine of... Go on, Jen. What other bland things do you have?
Well, it would be like if mayonnaise didn't have any flavor.
Oh, you mean off-brand mayonnaise rather than...
Yeah, so it's best. It's like Miracle Whip.
Yeah. Oh, wrong.
I'm kidding. I just really hate Miracle Whip. I hear it's tangy, but I dispute that. Sam Worthington is basically white people food.
No. Okay, first off, no. White people have an issue with spice sometimes, but we can make some good shit. And I'm not gonna say, like, all of white people can't make good food. Certain groups of white people don't know what salt and pepper are, and that is honestly a national travesty. It honestly is a crime against humanity.
It really is. But you know what? Some white people also put raisins in their macaroni salad. You know what? That's what Sam Worthington is. Sam Worthington is the raisins in the macaroni salad.
I don't think that's how it works, because the thing is, the raisins, at least, it's not a flavor you want, but it is a flavor, whereas Sam Worthington has no flavor.
So that's true.
He is just the macaroni without the salad.
Yeah, that is pretty bland.
He's just macaroni.
He's like the vegetable oil of oils.
Yeah. He's mashed potatoes without butter.
He's mashed potatoes with just potatoes. Like,
just
he's
potatoes.
mashed potatoes when it's just... You know what? Potatoes are better and less bland than Sam Worthington.
Poor Sam Worthington. Poor bastard.
I mean, let's be honest, though. Like, he cannot actually emote, which is fine. Normally, I wouldn't care, except that I thought, was expected to emote as an actor.
Yeah.
But as we were saying before the podcast, it's like the director went to him and said, I need you to not act.
Right. I deliberately just want you to act like you're reading the lines as they're written, as if you're reading them directly off the teleprompter.
Right, without acting. But I don't even know how to say that, because maybe Sam Worthington just really, like, maybe that's his acting. Like, Sam, we need you to act like you're not acting. And Sam's like, I got this! I don't know, but he's really, it's sad. Like, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Hollywood, for only casting him in a few movies.
It's so fucked up.
before you kind of consigned him to the side movies.
This is the thing with Sam Worthington. So, like, Sam Worthington in this movie is supposed to emote quite a lot. At the very beginning of the movie, right, his whole family is killed. And I don't mean like they're like snuffed out in a very quick way, like vaporized or something. He watches them drown to death. It's a pretty horrible... He watches Pete Postlethwaite drown to death. That's tough.
Yeah, his hand shakes as he drowns.
Right.
Gasping for air. Well, he's not gasping for the air, but choking on water. And Sam's just like, oh, that's nice. And he kicks off, and then he's like, no! He says no, but they don't even bother showing his face while he's saying it, presumably because...
It's
There's
so
no
weird.
actual emotion there, and he's just yelling the word.
This is the thing I don't get. Is like, I don't understand what this character's motivation is. Like,
No, it's very unclear.
the whole thing with Perseus/Perseus, depending who you ask, is like, on the one hand, he's raised human. He's a demigod that's raised human, and his human family is murdered horribly by a god. So he's mad at the gods, just in general. He especially hates
Yeah.
Hades, but he's mad at the gods in general, right? Cool, great. So, like, maybe he wants to do the mission because he's mad at the gods in general. But then they inject this whole thing where it's like, they find out he's a demigod, and he's like, fuck off, I'm not a demigod. Stop yelling at me and stop trying to push my face into fire. It's not very nice. I'm not a demigod. And then he's like, oh, fuck, I am a demigod, but I don't want to be a demigod. I want nothing to do with Zeus or any of them. And so, like, what's his motivation to do he's saving the world.
But he literally does not care about the world.
It's like, it doesn't seem like he does. And like,
No, he
like,
doesn't.
does he know that Io/Gemma Arterton is his great
No.
grandma? Is that why he has issues? Like, do they not know in general? Like, has the cow fucking part happened?
Yes, that was centuries ago.
Okay, so the cow fucking's already happened. And so,
Yeah.
like, I'm just honestly flabbergasted.
Well, it's kind of difficult to say because she was actually a priestess in Argo, or Argos, because there's only one city in Greece.
Right. Yeah, there's no other Greece. When they leave
No
Greece,
other
they just
Greece.
end up in, apparently, the desert in Arabia somehow.
Yeah, I mean, we're not sure how that geography works either. And no, they do not take a boat.
No.
They walk there, so I assume it's Turkey, but I don't.
That's a long way to Turkey, though. Like, they're only on the road like a day and a half.
Yeah, I haven't actually checked the map, but let's assume that it's not accurate.
It doesn't make sense. Like, none of this movie makes really any sense.
No. Paul would be having a conniption fit about the mapping.
The mapping doesn't make... Is there a map in this?
No. Well, I'm just saying the mapping in the general sense that apparently... I mean, I guess it does take them a week to go from Argos and walk all the way to the Arabian desert.
That's not... I'm sorry, but... No, okay, hold on. We're going to Google right fucking now. We're going to Google Map. We're going to go from... So they're going... Argos is still a city, right?
Argos. Oh yeah, we can Google Map walking.
Argos, Greece to... Where do you think they ended up? Like Istanbul?
Yeah, it would have to be... I mean, there's deserts all around in Greece. Well, sort of deserts, but
Okay.
they specifically say it's the desert of the Jinn, so they have to be in some part of Arabia.
So where would Arabia start then?
The Arabic Empire, what year is it?
All right, so the Arabian Peninsula would be basically like northern Iraq. Syria. Let's say Syria. What was in Syria? What's in Syria? Let's just say Aleppo. All right, so they got to walk to Aleppo, right?
Yeah, the closest part that they would have been is Western Turkey, Eastern Turkey.
Okay, so let's say Ankara. They go into Ankara. Could we just make a decision about where they're going? God damn it.
I need to see a map of Turkey. I'm sorry.
Ankara is like the major city in Turkey. All right, so we're going to change route.
You know what? Aleppo actually might have been accurate. Let's
Fuck
go
off!
with Aleppo.
It doesn't matter, because once you change it to go to Ankara, which is closer, if we even go to Istanbul instead...
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, we're going to... Fucking hell.
How long does it take to walk
Istanbul, not
to
Constantinople.
Istanbul
It's Istanbul,
from Constantinople?
It takes, 232 hours. How do I see that in days? I can't.
You divide it by 24.
I know, but I just can't. 232 by 24. Almost 10 days.
10 days. See? Yeah, the timeline does not work. Oh!
That's
wait,
1,133 kilometers,
no.
Jen.
Because at some point, let's assume, like, maybe... Oh, no. See? At some point, they hit... No, see, they get to the desert pretty early, so that doesn't track.
It's pretty quick.
And then they have to go further, but I don't know. Where are the Scythian wishes? Presumably they're actually in Scythia.
We're set.
See,
Well, that's in Kentucky, so I don't know where that is.
Yeah, okay, that works.
No, it doesn't. None of this makes sense, Jen.
They go from Argos to apparently like some parts of Turkey, and then they go north into Scythia, which was southern Urals.
No,
It's like
Jen, that's impossible.
What?
There's no way this works. Just to get to Istanbul by foot takes at least 10 days. Assuming you walk nonstop.
He's a demigod, so
no, but the rest of them aren't. They're just normal people.
They're super soldiers, obviously. They're just like that fast.
Okay, no. You're not understanding. This is days as in total number of days walking nonstop, not stopping.
Yeah, but
why are we defending this movie, Jen? The geology makes no sense. They end up in a desert in under a week, which makes no fucking sense because the closest desert-like place isn't even Istanbul, and yet you'd have to go all the way to at least Ankara to get, I guess, kind of desert-like, vaguely.
No, I mean, Greece itself is a fairly dry nation.
Dry as in Mediterranean, not dry as in
not as
the
in
fucking
there's
Sahara.
Gin hanging out. Yeah, I don't know.
Fucking hell, Jen. Why are we doing this to
So
ourselves?
now I've spent 10 minutes talking about maps.
Paul will be so pleased with himself.
So
Anyway,
pleased with that.
we have not gotten to our likes and dislikes. We have just been yelling about Sam Worthington and the film's problem with understanding geography.
Well, I have a problem then, because I still need to talk for 10 minutes about how sexy Mads Mikkelsen is.
We can get to that in your like, because right now we're getting to our likes, because we have been recording for almost 40 fucking minutes, and we haven't actually done the main part of this fucking show.
Okay, so likes?
Likes. Start with likes. Jen, what's your first and only like?
Mads Mikkelsen.
God, he is hot.
He is honestly one of the sexiest men alive, and I don't know how, because he's so bizarre looking, but in that, oh my god, the intensity of his eyes, like, he is just so good. So in this movie, he plays Draco, because of course he does. I mean, I don't know who names their child Draco.
That's why he took the role. He's like, oh, my character's named Draco. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, how many Dracos in fiction have we had throughout the centuries?
I mean, at this point, you'd had Dragonheart and Harry Potter, so...
So he comes from a long line of Dracos.
Right, exactly.
And he plays the head of the Argos Legion.
Right.
Or something.
They're the Legion. They're basically the Argosian Legion, yeah.
Yeah, they're the Argosian Legion, not to be confused with the other Legion famous from Greek history.
Right, the one that's from Athens.
The 300 Spartans.
Oh,
yeah,
the Spartan
no,
one. There are a lot of legions.
Spartans?
Look, honestly, this film...
They had city-states. That's how Greece worked.
But this film does certainly have a problem with making sure we know which legion is present at any given time, because they just keep referring to them as legions, which is actually why ancient Greece eventually fell. They spent so much time arguing over which legion was which that they never actually got to fight any battles, and so they lost.
They do get to fight, one battle before half of them die in this? And by the way, that's the other, sexy person that I really like in this movie is Rory McCann, who is the mountain.
Oh, fuck off.
I mean, sorry, the Hound from
wow,
from Game of Thrones.
No, you don't get two. You don't get to have two sexies.
I just get all the sexy men in this.
Oh, God.
Sam Worthington not included. I mostly just get Mads Mikkelsen. You can't really claim the Hound as a like, though, because he's only in the movie for a solid minute.
He gets offed, I think he's offed off camera, because the other guy gets ripped in half.
No, he dies on camera. He gets stabbed through the chest.
Oh, he does. But he doesn't get that last death. He just he's dead on the ground, and then his smaller friend gets torn in half.
Torn in half, people.
By
Acrisius, who is Perseus's not dad.
Yeah, he's like his stepdad.
I mean, what do you call him? I don't know. His mom murderer.
He's his undad.
His undad. Yes, his undad Acrisius, who is the one that murdered his mother because she accidentally was raped by Zeus, has taken the power from Hades and told to kill Perseus because by killing Perseus that would hurt Zeus.
Right.
You know, because then he'd be like, oh, my son, who I've never actually spoken to before in my life, and I just raped his mom. Ooh, boo-hoo. Yeah, I guess that's how it works in Greek mythos.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like, Zeus doesn't exactly make very strong... Like, his idea of connection to other people is mostly, like, can I fuck them?
Right, and then also, you are my son, you should take your place next to me, just so people can see how fruitful my rape is.
Well, yeah, and I think it's just like with the gods, their conception of connection with others is, like, fleeting.
It's a little bit limited, yeah.
They're very basic. They really, like, it's honestly shocking to me every time I see, like, a Greek story, and I'm just like, could the gods not realize, like, just being less of dicks would mean that people would worship them more? Like...
Well, no, that's why I was confused in the second, like, right at the end, when, like, Hades is talking to Zeus, and he's like, no, I feed on their fear. And I was like, while we were watching the movie, I was like, I thought that was the god game to begin with, you know, because there's Zeus going, fear, I have never thought of that before.
Right.
Like,
he's totally shocked by the idea, and I'm like, really? Right. You run around raping women. Like, what?
He literally, like, just regularly rapes women, but that doesn't count, apparently. But we'll wait until we get to my dislike, because apparently I just like Greek myths.
They're dark as hell, for sure.
Dark as hell.
They're messed up. It's honestly a shock. Like, it's weird when you hear people, like, these days are just like, oh, like God is good, and he's so nice, and he'll give you flowers. And then you're like, go to ancient Greek, and then, like, yeah, the gods are all assholes. They rape everybody. They turn you into animals and have sex with you. They're awful. They'll even have sex with you as animals.
Everybody who says God is good has not read the Old Testament.
No, I get that. But, like, at least there's, like, a couple points in the Bible where, like, Jesus is like, I'll heal some lepers. Like, it's all good. And then, like, but there's fucking no ancient Greek myth where they're like, I'm gonna be nice to you. Like, they're all just mean. And they're doing skeevy shit.
They're truly awful, awful people. Not humans, people.
I don't get it, by the way. Like, I honestly don't get it. If you're a god and you're like, oh, I just want to, like, get with some people. I'm like, you know, there's a whole earth of people. Like, if you want to find someone who's, like, really into taking it from a goose, like, you can find that person.
Apparently, he did find that person. I'm just saying, but...
I'm just saying that person probably plays Untitled Goose Game. I'm just saying. I get that it's not actually about the sexual gratification, it's about power. I get that. I'm just saying that gods could be less dicks, and I think that their job as gods would be fucking easier.
That's probably true. Anyway, back to Mads Mikkelsen, who is one of the sexiest men alive, and that is my like. And I really, really like it. Actually, his death is the best death, too. So
he gets, like, impaled by a massive arrow from Medusa.
He does, but that's not the death I'm actually talking about. I'm talking about when Medusa finally, like, does turn him to stone, and he actually literally gets to smirk at her before he turns to stone.
Right, he's like, what up?
Bring it!
Fuck you!
And it's, yeah, it's pretty cool, even though that's related to my dislike. But anyway, Mads Mikkelsen, hot, the end.
Yeah, he is attractive. I give it to you. He is. I want him to narrate audiobooks so bad. That's literally, if I ever write a novel and they want to do an audiobook of my novel, I'm like, look, I will literally give my next advance if you can pay for Mads Mikkelsen to do it.
Yeah. Have you watched Polar yet?
No, I really want to, though, because Mads Mikkelsen is in it. I just want to see anything with Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah, that's the only reason to see it. It's actually not, it's not a great movie. It makes no sense, but it is like one of the, oh my god, it only has 19% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's not that bad.
Look, Jen, we just watched Clash of the Titans. Yeah. He's in Hannibal, and he's absolutely shockingly good in Hannibal. And they did do a, public event where they did, like, a cast reuniting for Hannibal with him in it. That's pretty good. Anyway, I think it's going to be pretty obvious what my like is, because I mentioned it a lot while we were cycling. In case people didn't know, we cycled through the entire hour and 40 minutes or so of this film. It was pretty rough, but we did it. Good for us. I mentioned this a number of times because I thought it was a really cool effect, which is that when you see the gods up in Olympus or wherever the fuck they live, there's this cool map of the world.
Which they don't actually use.
They don't use it really. They mostly just stand on it. But it's really cool because it's got clouds and all of this stuff, and so when the gods are walking over it, the clouds actually react to their bodies a bit. And it's such a really cool, simple effect, and it's, I think, mostly pretty well done. This film has a lot of CG elements and green screen work, and a lot of that because it's from this era. But that for me was my favorite effect. It was so cool to see this sort of world. And I would like to kind of take screenshots and kind of look even closer to see, are they showing the world as it actually is, or do they just kind of make it up? Because it wasn't clear to me.
I'm sure it's the version in which Argos is less than a week from the Arabian Desert.
Right, it's like 5 minutes from Ankara, yeah.
Right, exactly. I will say, I agree, it is a super cool effect, and I think the entire sort of envisioning of Olympus was, in general, very interesting, because, they have their figures that are sitting off to the side, which I think are the demigods or their avatars on Earth, kind of sitting at their feet.
Mm.
They're little lead figures, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool because up in they have this rotunda that has presumably every man, woman, and child and everybody in between in the rotunda in individual compartments. It's a very large rotunda, as one can imagine.
Could you say rotunda again for me?
Rotunda.
You're going to do some ASMR where you just say rotunda over and over. Rotunda.
So when Argos is attacked, the people fall out of the rotunda.
Rotunda.
And are destroyed in the process. They come down and they're just flame out, disintegrate into sparkles, which is pretty cool. And I thought effects like that, just the whole imagining of Olympus was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I would say that, some of the special effects, I think most of the special effects in this generally are pretty solid.
Yeah.
There are a few that I would say are just kind of, that Kraken's cool, but it's also kind of, I would just honestly have rather they just had a guy in a giant puppet suit, which I think would be fun.
As you mentioned, it was a cross between a turtle and a squid.
Yeah.
But I realized he's actually very specifically the same model used for the most recent Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, just with some squid arms.
That's great.
That's what he looks like. He looks like the super, muscled up version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that has been in the last couple of movies.
He's like when they did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze, when they had Shredder tried to make, I don't know if you've seen this movie, but he tried to make two of his own Super Turtle. So he made one Super Wolf and one Super Turtle that was super spiky. Right. It's kind of like that, but even more giant and nonsensical because he has legs.
I think
they're legs, but they bend weird. They make no sense. He has the most bizarre they're insect legs, but he's got a turtle body, and then he's got squid arms. It's he doesn't know what he is. Honestly, I feel bad for him, because he spends his whole life living, at the bottom of the ocean in a pineapple under the sea, and...
Yeah. I mean, truth.
Sorry. He lives down there this whole time, and then he gets called up to just wreck some people, and, all he wants is, literally for someone to get the stick that's been stuck in his teeth for 1,000 years out.
I know, poor guy.
He's sad, and they're feeding him sacrifices. It's one little girl. It's a girl. They feed him a girl every 2,000 years, and he's for fuck's sake, For me to even meet my daily calorie intake, I need at least 3 bushels of apples.
Okay, I'm gonna share an image with you.
Okay.
Because I was correct. When I called him the roided out Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, he's specifically Raphael from the newest movie.
Oh, God. Oh, I hate these movies. He kind of is. Why did they make them so roided out? It's so silly.
I don't know.
And they got Steve Amell to play Casey Jones. Like, I like Steve Amell because he can salmon ladder, and, like, I just want him to play music with his abs. But, like, like, come on.
I mean, 100 agree.
They really got Tyler Perry in this movie. What is happening?
Yes, but Raphael is apparently related to the Kraken, is all I'm saying.
Look, I agree. But anyway, the point is that in general, a lot of the CG effects here are very well done. The Pegasus is, I think, probably one of the most seamless effects. It's pretty
It
impressive.
really is.
And
Yeah.
I say that given that Harryhausen did the original Clash of the Titans, and he essentially retired after making that film. I don't know if that was his last film that he retired from, but it was pretty much the same year. And he refused to come back for this movie. But
Smart man.
one of the most impressive effects from that original film is actually the Pegasus.
Yeah.
And it's still pretty impressive here. They did a pretty good job of having a fairly seamless CG horse with wings. So
It is. The Pegasus is gorgeous, and so are the other
yeah.
creatures that are the same species as the Pegasus, which I don't remember the name of right now.
They're just horsies with wings.
The only part of the effects vision that I really didn't like, particularly in Olympus, which I liked in general, but I hated the sparkly, like, washed out
Yeah.
thing that they did with that. That just hurt my eyes.
And they do have some problems with transitions, like especially with Hades, where he's like coming out of the smoke, and it's not quite there, so he just kind of like suddenly appears out of the smoke instead of morphing out of it.
Yeah, but it's still a pretty cool effect.
Mostly
in
it's pretty
general.
cool.
Like, and I didn't notice that enough to like have a problem with it. It's
Oh.
just like, oh, Hades comes out of smoke. Cool.
I watch Corridor Digital on YouTube, so I've learned way too much about the flaws in CG to know. Corridor Digital does a really good job. If anyone's interested, do look them up on YouTube. They do a lot of essentially VX artists react videos where they react to good and bad CG, and they talk about like both the good and the bad stuff, and they talk about like from a constructive perspective of like what went wrong, what went right, and that kind of stuff. And what's great is when they talk about Bollywood films, because Bollywood films are banana pants. A lot of times they are so banana pants,
Amazing.
but they get so much joy watching it because they're like, look, this makes no sense, but it is so fun to watch. And some of it is utterly just like the imagination there is so impressive to me.
Yeah, agree. And I think that's kind of what was going on in this movie. The imagination for a lot of the scenes, like the Scythian witches with their eye and everything.
Is it Scythian or Scythian?
Scythian?
Is it Scythian? Every time I hear you say that, I just think you're talking about us.
No, we're Scythian.
Right, we're the Scythian witches. That's right.
Scythian witches.
Yeah,
yes.
but I'm a
Okay.
warlock, sorry.
Can we get to our dislikes?
I-
Because this podcast is already way too long.
We're so long. Oh my god, it's so much alcohol. What are we doing with our lives?
I don't know. This is the last alcohol I get for quite a while, though, so.
Fair enough. Okay, so let's jump to you, Jen. We do need to do dislikes. What is your dislike for this film?
I dislike Medusa's story.
Yeah. The story they have in the film is that she was raped by Poseidon in Athena's temple, and she begged, afterwards she begged Athena to provide comfort, and Athena was disgusted and did not do so, so she cursed her. It's the story we get in the film.
That is the story from Ovid's Metamorphosis, so it has a long tradition, but the thing is that Medusa has a couple of different iterations. This is my least liked, but it actually makes sense within the context of Greek myths, because everybody gets raped by the gods, and it's really tragic and awful. So,
Yeah.
and Medusa's story is particularly tragic because she went to Athena's temple, and Athena was supposed to be, theoretically, a goddess that listened to women very specifically. But in this case, she just ignored her not only ignored her pleas for help, but then punished her
Right.
because of it. And you're like, this in the same way that Acrisius decides to punish his wife for being raped by Zeus.
Right.
And that's really fucked up. And like, Greeks, you got some issues.
Ancient Greeks, just to be clear. Ancient Greeks, not contemporary Greeks. You may also have issues
Fine.
today, but not because of the ancient Greeks, just to be clear.
Right, exactly. Just to be clear. Okay, cool. Fine. However, the fact that that story is not really pushed back on in any way,
Yeah.
and so Perseus still has to murder her to kill the Kraken. And Io, like, she relates the stories, because thankfully we have Io the Undying to tell us Greek myths throughout this movie. She relates that story, and then everybody's like, okay, cool, we're gonna go kill her now. And there's nothing questioning it, because they all, I don't know, are just like, oh yeah, that makes sense. We're good. We're gonna go murder a woman who was raped and punished for being raped now. And, because that's what you do in ancient Greece. And I hate when modern films don't in any way question horrible origin stories. It just is, it's lazy storytelling inevitably. And okay, fine, they were just trying to, like, tell the story of Perseus. I just would prefer, just like they did with Zeus and Hades, where they complicated their relationship for a modern audience, I wish they had done that with a rape narrative. Because the characters, they ignore it. Like, it's not a really important factor that this woman, Medusa, was raped, ignored, punished for being raped, and then literally stuck in a prison cell in the underworld. Like, that sucks. That's a trash narrative, and they decided to put it whole hog into this movie, and that is not okay.
Yeah, to me, a problem I have with this is, like, I think there are Greek stories that make sense to treat them as they are. So, like, if we go to Oedipus, because there's a message to be sent by Oedipus about hubris. And that makes sense. So there's a lot of dark, twisted stuff in Oedipus, but it all gets to a point about hubris. I don't know what the point of the Medusa narrative in this story is, because her whole existence seems to be a figure who's just there to be killed because she's monstrous. But the monstrosity that's put upon her is put upon her. It's put upon her by other people who have done harm to her or have punished her for things that weren't her fault. And while I get that the ancient Greeks maybe had a different perspective on these things, or maybe this is just the way that they dealt with these godly narratives, because all the gods were gods to be feared, they weren't gods to be thought of as friends.
Well, and apparently women were trash in their minds, and it was totally okay that they were raped. Not only okay, but deserved to be punished for it.
That's what I don't get, is, like, to me, like, I get why you would want to do a remake of Clash of the Titans, but maybe this is an aspect of Clash of the Titans that you just don't interpret the same. You just reinterpret this. You do a different version of the story. Maybe you highlight more the tragicness of Medusa's situation and have Perseus, or Perseus, depending on who you ask, actually respond to this and say, like, this is fucked up. This is not right. This is not cool for this to be this poor woman, like, didn't do anything wrong and had all these horrible things happen to her as a consequence of just existing. And the gods who are supposed to be there to defend her weren't there. One of whom was actually there doing the harm, and the other, which was supposed to defend her, did additional harm instead of backing her up. At the very least, we could make this a cautionary tale or a story that is at least about the message of how we treat rape victims today. At least you can make it that, so that that message has some relevant value to the contemporary moment. But that's not what they go for here. It just feels cruel.
It feels cruel and it's gross.
And I get it's part of ancient Greece and all that. I get that these are part of the myths and stuff. I get it.
Yeah, but you don't have to highlight the grossness of the situation without questioning it.
Yeah, that's what I think is the issue.
Because that's all they have to do is question it. Like somebody saying something about how this sucks. They do that to the extent that at least we hear the story, and so she's made into a slightly more sympathetic figure.
Yeah.
But it really genuinely is not enough given the fact that the men still essentially ignore that story. Because she's still a monster and they have to kill her in order to kill the Kraken. And that's the part that I was like, no, you need to do something else with this. So that's the only thing I hate about this movie, really, genuinely. There are, minor quibbles here and there. The fact that it's long and boring. But that is the one thing that, actively angered me, because it's another film that is using rape in a not a great way.
Yeah, I get if we're in a mythology class and we're gonna learn these things. I just don't think the Medusa narrative translates well to screen.
It doesn't. Not in this case, for sure.
Yeah.
And not to mention the Acrisius murdering his wife part. I mean, the only reason that he's punished is not because he killed his wife who was just raped, but because he killed Zeus's plaything.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they do anything. They do not do the work to interpret these stories as these men are awful, and so is Zeus. Zeus is literally almost made to be a sympathetic figure.
This is my dislike.
Oh, okay, then we'll go for it!
So, there are huge problems with the plot and direction of the story, and I get that what they're trying to do is kind of follow the mythology a bit, and I'm not an expert on it, so you'll excuse me if I'm not super familiar, but it seems to me that what they're trying to do is kind of follow the myth, which means they're kind of jumping from piece to piece to piece, and they're kind of plowing through it, and then they want to get to the end and to have a sympathetic moment. But the problem here is that at no point are the gods, especially Zeus, ever really sympathetic figures. Not to any kind of modern audience, right? We should not feel for Zeus in this story, because Zeus, we're supposed to feel for him because Hades is tricking him and is trying to take his power and is trying to kill his son, and he's trying to do all of this stuff to connect with his son he never even knew existed, blah 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 blah. And at the end he's supposed to oh, I was wrong, and I was mean to all the peoples, and oh, you showed me, are you sure you won't come up and hang out with the gods? Well, don't worry, I'm gonna help you out whenever I can. We're supposed to feel that's really nice, but throughout this story, Zeus is presented as a really cruel, mean, manipulative, horrible person. Most of the gods are implied to be that, Hades especially, but Hades is the proper villain. But Zeus is supposed to be rehabilitated by the end of this, and I am not convinced at all by what the story presents us. And this is a huge problem because for Perseus, or Perseus, depending who you ask, he begins by hating the gods, justifiably so, because the gods, Hades in particular, killed his actual family. His family that he was raised with, his father who raised him, the person who actually served as his father, the person who actually served as his mother, his sister, all of these people. They even have the scene at the beginning where it's a young Perseus, or Perseus, depending who you ask, who is literally concerned about the fact that his parents are about to have a biological child, and he doesn't know if he's going to be loved the same. And Pete Postlethwaite, giving the best performance he can, makes it very clear, we will not love you any different. You are our son, period, end of discussion. And that is a beautiful little moment. But when we get to later on, right, there's all this justification for why Perseus dislikes the gods, but we're still supposed to think that at the end he is at least somewhat forgiven Zeus. But there's no reason to forgive Zeus. Zeus could easily have stopped his undad from attempting to kill him. Zeus could have stopped Hades from murdering innocent people. Zeus could have stopped any of these things at any moment. He could have not raped people. He could have done any number of things. He could have, come down and maybe talk to some fucking people and figure out what people's lives are like and realize I get why you're kind of a little upset, you live a mortal life and your life's a little bit hard. He doesn't do any of these things.
Right. Yeah, no, and Apollo said something why don't we just talk to them, or something. One of them says it.
Right.
But Zeus is no, they've disrespected us. I'm going to murder them all. Go for it, Hades. He does not care until it's his son who's in danger. And we are meant to know that, but it's so weakly posited in this film that you're I'm sorry, is he sympathetic or not? Because he's helping Perseus out in the meantime, and so on and so forth. So you're like, are you actually helping humankind? You're like, no, you're actually still just a dick. But this is already a vastly reinterpreted version of events compared to the original Perseus legend. And the fact that they did not take that opportunity to question any aspect of the events of Perseus,
Yeah.
that's where it falls horribly short and becomes just a spectacle, which fine, if that's what you wanted, whatever, it's a spectacle, go for it. But not even in the best way, and not much more.
Yeah. This is one of those things where I just think that to get the story for Zeus that we need, he needs to do a lot more of work to get there, and we don't have that in this story.
Maybe it's in Wrath of the Titans, Sean.
It very well might be. I doubt it, because anything I've learned about Greek stories is the gods are all dicks. And this is a problem, is that I feel like the further removed we get from ancient Greece, the less these stories feel to me like stories that should be revered, and more like these are just like ancient stories from back in the day that are like cool from a historical perspective, from a literary perspective, but are not stories that we should revere because they're about horrible people being horrible or horrible gods being horrible. And
teaching horrible lessons to humankind in the process.
What is the lesson of Zeus? Like, that's the question.
I don't know. Zeus was a fickle...
He's a dick.
Tawdry dick. Like, that's all I get. But the stories about the individuals, the stories about people like Medusa, especially the women, if we're talking about the women in the Greek myth.
The women get fucked so bad here.
Literally, they get fucked. They are raped left and right and all over the place. And it's awful. And the fact that we still look at Greek myths and are like, oh, those are such great stories. Culturally, we are completely ignoring the cultural history of ancient Greek rape everywhere, all the time.
Okay, well, I don't know about if it's all the time, because I'm not an ancient Greek scholar, but certainly in a lot of the mythology, there's just a lot of it.
A lot of the mythology, and more specifically, the mythology that has been passed on to us as modern Westerners.
It's so strange to me.
Yeah.
Because there are other Greek stories to tell.
But then you really have to take a long, hard look at what classical literature and the white men who were teaching it were really, really after.
Oh, well, I'm not going to go that far, but because I know some people that teach this stuff.
I am.
I will just say that, like, I have taught Oedipus before, and I've also taught Antigone. The plays from Greece, I think we get so much more out of them because they're fables that have purposes. There's a meaning to them. They're tragedies, but they're tragedies that have a lesson that we can learn as mere mortals. I think my biggest problem with myths as told as big, fantastic adventure stories is that some myths just seem cruel. And while I get them as literary and historical valued elements, I don't think that these are the kinds of stories that I just want us to tell as they are. I feel like I want a Medusa story, Greek story like this that is, at the very least, very aware that the tragedy of Medusa is something that weighs on the other characters. And I don't get the impression in this film, because she is presented as so monstrous, that they don't really recognize the real tragedy of her character. Like, the fact that they don't even think, like, maybe let's actually try to have a conversation and try to rationalize with this character who has been horribly harmed.
No, why would you do that?
They don't. That's not even a consideration. It's just cut off her head. That is what has to happen here. And with Zeus, he gets to be at the end partly rehabilitated, despite the fact that he is effectively the one that caused a lot of the harm that's going on throughout this story. Not to Medusa directly, but it's just, that's really my issue, is that when it comes down to it, the parts that really don't work here is there's just not enough development to justify the rehabilitation of characters who are really just awful people. And I get that they're gods, I just don't care. Because they're not real, and I don't need gods that are assholes to be treated as other rehabilitated characters, and that's just where I stand.
Preach! I agree.
Yeah.
So, let's give this movie final thoughts and grades.
Alright, Jen, final thoughts and grades, go.
Final thoughts. It's not a good movie. Just don't bother watching it. This was, we biked for an hour and 45 minutes, approximately 40 minutes. And that was fine. My ass going numb, was better than this movie. So, I'm gonna give it, but it looked good, I guess. So, D+.
Fair enough. Yeah, I would say, like, look, on the scale of a lot of the kind of stuff that we've watched, it's competently made. It is, the CG is pretty good. The cast is pretty incredible. They don't use the cast effectively, with the exception of Sam Worthington, the unsalted saltine of the world. This is a pretty solid cast. I wish they'd had more to work with, but there's a lot of elements of this that are really very good. The elements that don't are the kinds of things that we talked about in our dislikes. So for me, I would say that this is a C-. I don't think this is trash. I don't think it's great. I think it's just fine. That's really kind of how I feel about it. Like, it's fine. Is it fun to kind of watch? Yeah, there's a lot of fun bit. They fight giant scorpions in this. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, and then they use them as beasts of burden.
Yeah, they ride them.
That's amazing.
That's kind of cool. Like, there's a lot of nifty elements. There's fun bits in it.
Yeah. By the way, though, I would really, really like to know who decided that the djinn should be in this movie, because I don't recall them being in the original myth.
That's an aspect I like. I like that they just went like...
I liked the djinn, but I don't know...
They made them Arabic. It's kind of cool. Look, I give them respect for this because... One thing that they did here is they said, look, ancient Greece wasn't just ancient Greece. It was connected through trade and all kinds, and off war and other things, to other places. And
that's fair.
This is, even though this film does not address that in any significant way,
nope.
At least by implication, Greece has had connections with Arabia through the jinn. And so there's connection there, which I think is really interesting. And would be a thing that maybe they'll develop in Wrath of the Titans. I doubt it, but, that would be hopeful. I like that idea of trying to have a Greek mythology that is more connected to the world around it. That's a cool idea.
Yeah, I just wish they had done more work at it.
Sure. At least they had them speak Arabic. It's a start.
Yeah.
They could have just made them, speak gobbledygook and been like, they were supposed to be Arabic, but we couldn't bother to get someone who knew Arabic.
Right. I joked, by the way, everybody, I joked during the movie that, I'm so glad that they put Arabic myths in this movie, but then didn't actually cast any Arabic people. However, I was wrong. There is one Arabic person. Two. But the hunters were both played by Arabic actors.
But anyway, the point is, we give it basically like a D+-ish if we're grading this down. We don't hate this film with a fiery passion. It's fine. It just has elements that are just like, That's really how we feel.
Yeah, it's just exhausting how many movies are like this. It's really what it is.
Yeah, and it's gonna be weird. But the point is, we're done.
Thank fucking gods, just not the Greek one.
Right, yeah, don't ever fuck a Greek god.
Fuck a Greek god? Or you mean thank a Greek god?
Or thank them.
Don't do either one. Okay.
Well, I would just say probably thank one, because at least then they'd leave you alone.
I'm actually on Perseus's wavelength on this. They can go fuck themselves.
He's kind of not that way at the end, though. He's kind of like, Zeus is kind of daddy.
No, because daddy gave him some presents.
Right,
and
daddy
so
gave
him... Oh, thanks, daddy.
Isn't that great? I'm making up for the fact that my brother killed your entire family by giving you a coin and a shitty sword.
And your girlfriend back. Isn't that nice?
Yeah. Isn't that nice?
I could have done this for your parents and your little sister, but no, here's your girlfriend. A woman who I might have turned into a cow and raped repeatedly.
Right. He literally could have brought back his whole entire family and didn't. Don't get me wrong. Gemma Arterton, very beautiful woman, and I would not be unhappy to see her, given if I were Perseus. But at the same time, the whole film starts with his entire family being killed by a god. Bring his family back. And then bring Gemma Arterton back. Do them both. And then you could introduce your new girlfriend, who's also your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandma, to your dad.
Yeah.
Just saying. They didn't think this through.
No, they really didn't.
Well, I mean, to be fair, he's a god. He only half-asses everything.
Well, yeah, and clearly the thing that Perseus actually cares about is getting tail.
I mean,
not his family.
Jesus. Okay. All right. So we're done. Thank you all for listening. We really appreciate it. If you want to support the show, as always, you can do so in a number of ways. You can support us on patreon.com/SkiffyandFanty. Any amount matters, but if you'd like to join us for our Discord live chats while we talk about these films, $3 and up really does the trick. Otherwise, any amount is lovely. You can also review the show on iTunes especially, but other platforms as well. Just let us know if you review us on other platforms, but normally we get them on iTunes, and we'll read reviews out online. If you'd like to find us, we can be found at a number of magic places. We have a website. What's that website, Jen?
SkiffyandFanty.com.
If you'd like to send us an email, you can do that where?
SkiffyandFanty@gmail.com.
Follow us on Twitter.
Skiffy and Fanty.
You can follow us on the Facebooks.
The Skiffy and Fanty Show.
It's facebook.com/SkiffyandFanty. Thank you.
Oh, is it? Okay, that's the one I always forget because Facebook sucks.
Fair enough. But some people use it. We also have a YouTube channel.
YouTube.com/SkiffyandFanty.
And a newsletter run by the lovely Stephen Geigen Miller.
SkiffyandFanty.com/newsletter.
And we are on the Twitters as well. I am at Sean Duke with a U.
I am at Loop-de-Loo, and I would like to add one more thing that we are also on now, and that is Instagram at Instagram.com/SkiffyandFanty. And yes, I am completely aware that it is owned by Facebook, who sucks.
Nice.
I thought so. So you can find pictures of our book mail and links to our posts, things like sort of. You know, it's Instagram. Who knows?
Awesome. Well, thanks for running that, Jen.
You're welcome. Thanks for running our Twitter.
All right. Well, we have hit the end of our show. Thank you, Jen, for being lovely as always.
Oh, thank you, Sean, for being whatever it is you are.
Sure. As a way to end this show, I just will let everybody know that I am about to turn into a very sexy horse, and I'm going to walk down Main Street.
Oh, that sounds delightful, and I hope you have a very good time. Just watch out for Zeus.
Look, I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to be hanging low.
No comment.
And on that note, awkward ending and scene. If you would like to support this podcast, you can do so at patreon.com/SkiffyandFanty. You can also find us on our website, SkiffyandFanty.com, and on Twitter at SkiffyandFanty. If you'd like to send us an email, you can do so at SkiffyandFanty@gmail.com. The music for this episode comes from Sphere by Creo. You can find out more about their music at freemusicarchive.org.